Invoices seem simple at first glance, but they involve money, inventory, and customer data. That's why tool use is critical now. It transforms Claude from a drafting tool into a controlled interface. The shift isn't just AI writing invoices, it's AI safely coordinating business systems. Without taking ownership of those systems, humans retain judgment, approval, and accountability. For teams building Claude apps, this is the turning point. Prototypes evolve into real operations. Chat only assistants struggle with changing business states. They can describe an invoice, but not check customer profiles. They cannot verify product availability in real time. They lack the ability to create payable records with audit trails. Copy paste workflows hide significant risks through manual steps. A production assistant needs live, up to date data. It must enforce explicit permissions for every action. Outputs should be deterministic and predictable. There must always be a clear line between recommendation and execution. The bottleneck isn't language quality, it's boundary design. Without tools, the model guesses customer names, it invents SKUs out of thin air, it applies stale prices, it mixes conversation context with accounting truth. The more fluent the answer sounds, the harder the error is to catch. Finance workflows punish confidence without verification. One wrong field can cause revenue leakage or customer friction at scale. The breakthrough is making Claude ask for action. It no longer pretends action happened. Tool use lets the model return a structured request. Your application executes the API call and returns the result. Claude reasons. The system transacts. The boundary becomes inspectable, logged, reversible, and testable. The assistant becomes an orchestrator, not an uncontrolled operator with hidden side effects. That distinction separates demo magic from production safety. The invoice workflow becomes a three-layer system. Claude operates in the orchestration layer. It interprets user intent and identifies missing information. Claude sequences API calls effectively. Business APIs run in the execution layer. They enforce pricing, inventory, tax, and customer rules. The policy layer manages access permissions. It controls who can read customer data or search products. It also regulates previewing totals and creating invoices. Reliability comes from clear separation of layers, not from model complexity alone. Three tools carry the experience. Get Customer resolves identity and billing terms. It checks tax profile, addresses, and credit status. Search Products turns vague requests into valid items. It returns prices, variants, and stock constraints. Create Invoice accepts verified customer IDs. It requires product IDs, quantities, and due dates. Discounts and memo fields are also needed. Each tool has one job, one permission boundary. Each has one predictable failure mode. Together, they form a narrow, high-trust surface, not a messy plugin drawer. The user asks for an invoice in natural language. Bill Acme for 10 annual licenses and onboarding. Claude first resolves the customer, then searches for the correct products. It only asks for missing fields when needed. Once the draft is complete, the app validates totals. It checks permissions, tax behavior, and idempotency. Only then does create Invoice write the record. Finally, it returns the invoice number. Good tool design starts with schema design. Names must be clear and unambiguous. Descriptions should explain when not to use the tool. Input schema locks required fields, types, enums, and nested items. The schema is the contract between systems. It turns intent into trusted parameters for accounting software. It reduces tool selection confusion. It prevents free-form data from entering financial systems. Strong schemas simplify testing and monitoring. They make retries and audits much easier. The safest workflow separates suggestion from execution. Claude can prepare line items and detect ambiguity. It can summarize assumptions and explain customer matches, but the app must enforce authorization and customer visibility. Price rules and approval thresholds should be enforced by the app. High risk operations require confirmation before write access. The assistant should never act as a silent finance operator, especially when invoices impact legal and cash flow records. Predictable outputs transform the user experience. Instead of a generic paragraph, you get a real artifact: customer resolved, products matched, totals calculated, invoice created, next action clearly visible, errors become recoverable. Every tool call includes inputs, outputs, timestamps. Each step has a traceable reason. Support teams can review the full path. No more guessing what the model meant. The business case is operational, not cosmetic. APQC tracks invoice processing cost as a finance benchmark. Its research shows large gaps between top and bottom performers. Atradius reports overdue B2B invoices remain common in major markets. Faster, cleaner invoice workflows protect cash flow. They reduce rework and minimize trust issues. The win isn't more automation for its own sake, it's fewer broken handoffs. Natural language at the edge, APIs power the core of the system. Policy sits between language and actions. Today, it generates invoices. The same design handles refunds. It updates CRM records too. It checks contracts efficiently. It triggers fulfillment workflows. Tool use is not a feature, it's the transaction layer for AI. Language meets real business action. The assistant adds value by respecting systems. It works within rules, not around them.